Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here. I'm doing a video today, and of course I'm doing a video today. Just trying to get this camera right. And this is about marijuana. This is quoting Bruce Dickinson from Live After Death. And this is what I think. This is what my unvarnished opinion is about the whole pot thing. Now, I'm just going to put it bluntly on the table. And oh, look what I did there. That was by accident. I'll spread out the seeds and the stems and all that on the table. I'm just going to put it all out there. I grew up around people who were chronically doing marijuana. They were doing other things too, but a lot of the times that's what they were doing. I grew up, and I'm not, when I say grow up, I don't mean like only like parents and like family, friends, and stuff like that. I mean friends, peers, everybody around. And that's what I mean by grew up around. So people that did excessive amounts of marijuana, all day, every day. Sometimes some people will lunch in high school, whatever. I was guilty myself. I did it for a while too. And one thing that bothered me about it, one of the things, is that they seemed very sometimes it varied, but a lot of them seemed very callous towards a lot of things. Like, and that always bothered me. Like, some of the movies that I watch that I'm most shocked by is when people are just callous about something. Like, they're just like, oh, well, they're just dead. We'll just like chop off the course, haha, whatever. Like Hostel or something like that. It was kind of shocking, I don't know why. It just has this like weird effect on me. So I noticed that they were callous, and I noticed that they were lazy and annoying a lot of the time. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. Enough for me to notice. So I always grew up, I never delved all that into it. I did, there's a summer that I hung out with these people for hours a day, in high school. And I got really bored and really kind of dismayed by them, because there was like this punk kid and he cut his foot in this park, and he was bleeding. And he just sat there for hours. It's like, don't you want to get like a bandage or something? And I'm not saying like people that smoke pot are going to like die because they're not going to go to, get a bandage on their foot or something, but it's just like this attitude that a lot of the people had. Now, at the same time, and I understand that this was driven by a lot of the criminalization of it, because the people that were activists for legalization, decriminalization, probably had, maybe they had a friend in prison that grew weed or whatever, and it's terrible. They developed this smug attitude about it, like, I am smoking the sacred herb and you are infringing my territory if you do not take a puff. Like, you're the almighty person of wisdom that you're smoking marijuana, and that, if you don't like it, then you're an idiot and you're a moron and you're, a subhuman or whatever. That was another attitude. And growing up in a very liberal town like this, smug attitudes are, pretty prominent, and that's the way it goes, but it kind of got tied into that, intertwined. And, the psychological ways of doing that, of going through that, it takes its toll. So you had people that their whole life was a plant, and I just like variety. I don't want to just like live for a plant. There were people like that, and there are people like that. So I've always been very much into moderation and not wanting to think about that. And people self-medicate. My ex-girlfriend, I don't care. I'll talk about her. She self-medicated with pot. And now, it just made her, and she did other stuff too, but it just made her more like just blank, just more like out in a void. And it was like harder to communicate. I'm just talking about the effect that it had on her, because I think it affects everybody differently. So there are psychological effects of different people. That probably people, I've met people that just like hey, how's it going? And then they'll go, smoke pot, and they're the same person. But then I met people that were just completely, man, like this guitarist in our band. I don't want to play those encyclopedia riffs, man. So it has this effect on people that is unpredictable sometimes. Not in like an extreme way like alcohol, but still. So I never liked it, like excessive use of it. And, I've pronounced that. And I'm not going to stay in the closet of, being like that. Henry Rollins talks about it too, like in some of his books and some of his commentary on Black Flag. Now he's more towards the straight edge thing, which I don't agree with either, but to each their own. If you want to smoke copious amounts of marijuana, that's up to you. If you want to be straight edge, that's up to you. I choose not to do it. So in my life, that's made me pretty alienated. I mean, I've been pretty alienated in general because I'm a rocker that's not into drugs and alcohol excessively. Obviously, I'm a little bit too much into food and caffeine, but which is a drug, by the way. But I've never been into alcohol all that much either. I like going to bars a lot though now. I like to have like one or two beers. But yeah, I've never been like an excessive, and the excessive amounts of anything just kind of gross me out, including food to some extent, but it's like, yeah, so I just don't, I think it should be, obviously decriminalized, which it sort of is now, or legalized. I believe that it should be. That doesn't mean that I don't think a lot of people don't like, that doesn't mean I don't think people don't act like absolute morons. I think it does do things to brain cells to some extent. Makes people talk like total idiots a lot of the time. Not all the time. There's a lot of smart people that just are stoners and stuff, and you wouldn't even tell. But there's people, those special people, so to speak. And it doesn't mean that they're not smart normally either. But it brings out this thing in people that just, it is really irritating and annoying. And maybe that's partly from growing up around it. But it's also from just having common sense in this reality that I don't like. I did this video like 10 years ago originally, but this is kind of the follow-up to that. It might be still on my channel. I just don't like it. I mean, I did like a edible in 2021 and I was like really messed up for like a day. But, I'm not saying I don't like it. Like, I don't like to do it like in that way, like experimenting with magic or something, or, some altered states of reality and experience to go into like trances or whatever, that I wouldn't do it again. I'm just saying, like, in a certain way, I don't like it for the reason that I just said. Like, the people that do it excessively are often, not always, just a drag. All these terms, drag, drag, get it? Drag. They're just a drag. I mean, it's just like, oh, well, you want to do that, and then you want to eat. We talk about obesity. Like, I think that's part of the reason for the obesity crisis is all the young people smoking so much marijuana and also playing video games too much. And I'm not trying to sound like they play video games. I'm not trying to sound like Tipper Gore or Mary Whitehead or Jack, what the hell is his name? I forgot his name. All these people from the moral arbiters of our society against all this stuff. I'm not trying to sound like that, but it's the reason why this is kind of this is kind of the thing, in my opinion. So yeah, I don't like that. I like more active kinds of things than sitting there contemplating your navel on 10 bond hits. That's what I like. I don't like that. I never did like it all that much. And it's the smugness, it's like, oh, well, you don't tell me what to do with my body. It's like, well, when the relationship with a certain person, I've dated a couple of women that were really excessively into weed. And it just, when the relationship just goes sour, it's like, ugh, it just turns you off. It's just like, they can't, And to be fair, both of the women that I dated that were really into pot also had reputations, so to speak. But wow, that's really messed up. But they had low self-esteem. They were a little bit on the larger side, and they also smoked a lot of pot. Well, let's put two and two together. Of course, they self-medicated and probably had promiscuous sex to feel better about themselves, and they had trauma in their past or whatever. It's just a fact. So, but instead of oh my god, instead of working on their problems with a therapist, they would choose to suck on that glass pipe. Not crack, thankfully, but yeah. Anyways, that's all.